Welcome to the Steve Reeve Podcast with the best moments from the past week and a few things that didn't make it to air. Monday.
I had to get gas on Friday night. There comes a time you can't ignore it, hoping for better times any longer. You lose the chance to even utilize your vehicle. I figured maybe I could just get enough to get by another week, just like the good old days with my first vehicle, seeing how far $20 could stretch because that's all I had to my name. I set the amount at the pump to $50, put the nozzle in, and just closed my eyes. Maybe not the safest, but as soon as the flow shut off, I set everything back in its place. I left before I could even see the "would you like your receipt" option appearing. I know it's a long shot, but I'm just like, maybe whatever volume of fuel that was afforded to me by the $50 is going to last long enough to fill up at a slightly less soul-crushing price. I still have the hope, but we'll see how long this one lasts me. I see we are still at 170 cents a liter around Fort McMurray this morning, so, still soul-crushing.
It's time for Cruz Music News with Steve Reeve.
Well, Guns N' Roses back on the road again. That's not really a headline, but it is when they're performing two of their new songs in front of a live audience for the first time. They released Nothing and Atlas in December of last year, and that was after they had wrapped up quite a busy touring schedule for 2025, but that was ended in October, so they haven't had a chance to play these in front of a live audience until just this past weekend at their very first show of a big run through 2026 in Mexico, and I'm sure that we're going to hear more from them as they continue on that route. Paul McCartney getting kicked off in 2026 with a pair of intimate shows in LA and with getting kicked off Reddit for it. What happened was they played a couple of shows in LA that were kind of a small, inclusive audience, 1,200 people maximum each, and in the second show, a ton of celebrities were in attendance as well, probably with big invites. However, he posted some photos. It looks like some kind of blurry cell phone photos managed to go up on his Reddit page, likely run by a management team, but still. Those two shows were absolutely no cell phones allowed, and that got him kicked off, at least temporarily. Back on there, though, the post has gone missing. Who was in attendance of these big names? Taylor Swift, Olivia Rodrigo, John Mayer, Sabrina Carpenter, Billie Eilish, even Calgary's own Tate McRae, who did quite well at the Junos last night, one of the bigger winners, alongside rockers The Beaches and rapper BB No Money. Very special moment as Rush came back on stage again with a surprise performance and their new drummer. And there was a lot more to it. If you missed out, hey, there's highlights for you from the entire award show. But that is it for your music news today. I'm Steve Reeve.
You're listening to the Steve Reeve Podcast from 100.5 Cruz FM.
Have you heard about the great Kit Kat heist of 2026 yet? 12 tons of chocolatey wafer crunching goodness were stolen in Europe. Specifically, a truck carrying 413,793 units of Kit Kat was stolen while in transit. That's a very specific number. I picture a very convoluted and obviously physics-defying Fast and Furious highway chase sequence. That must have been how it went down. Kit Kats being chucked like throwing stars, that kind of thing. But parent company Nestle, always good people, said that the theft could result in a shortage of Kit Kats on shelves. But one could argue that it will also lead to more of them on shelves. Just a different way of thinking. Our precious reserves in Canada, though, remain unaffected. That's a lot of chocolate bar. That is a lot of weight. That's a lot of bars. It's a lot of work to pull off. I feel like they deserve a break.
Give me a break. Give me a break. Break me off a piece of that. I am totally blanking. What is the thing? Nobody tell him.
2 words for you and 1 potential movie title for the inevitable adaptation: Cocaine Sharks. I'm loving this story. Much like Cocaine Bear was based on a bizarre story of jettisoned narcotics from a plane, a study has now turned up nearly 30 sharks between 3 different species with drugs in their system. Some were from over-the-counter medicines, like Tylenol and Voltaren were listed, but some of the sharks straight up failed their drug tests as cocaine was found in their system. I guess the emergency detox kit was BS after all. The suspicion is that, much like the, over-the-counter stuff, the cocaine has been accidentally spilled in the water by tourist divers in the area. I guess a lot of them. And while there have been absolutely zero associated injuries or attacks from any of the sharks studied, you already have my ticket purchased, Hollywood. Time to do your thing.
Tuesday.
Most Canadians support a social media ban for anyone under the age of 16. While that does sound like it has positive benefits, it's the framing of it that I don't know if I totally agree with. I think if framed that way, it is hopeless to be completely ineffective. What happens anytime teenagers are banned from anything? They figure out how to do it anyway, and often they learn how to hide it at the same time. And I always have an issue with the government telling, people, citizens, what to do, instead of, maybe telling giant international corporations that offer services to us citizens what they need to do. In other words, don't tell the teen that they can't use the app. Tell the app that they can't get their digital claws into the teens, Starting off with the headline from Bring Me the Horizon. They are going to be sharing what was their biggest headlining show to date in their career. 50,000 strong was the crowd in Brazil at a sold-out stadium in 2024 as they recorded all the footage and audio for what will become Live in Sao Paulo, and that stands for Live Immersive Virtual Experiment. What is the experiment? Well, we're about to find out. They're actually doing a 48-hour digital broadcast of it ahead of the actual arrival on streaming platforms or a potential physical release as well. If you're fans of the Metal Giants, this is one of the most giant moments in their career, polished and delivered for you. And a surprise announcement from Canadian music royalty Celine Dion, who was diagnosed with stiff person syndrome in 2022. She's now saying that she's coming back. I'm so ready for this. 10 dates, a Paris concert residency towards the end of 2026. 10 nights at a near 40,000 person capacity Paris La Défense Arena, September through October. Apologies on the pronunciation. And another artist we actually don't hear too much of on Cruise, but I thought this was noteworthy. Taylor Swift getting sued by a Las Vegas performer named Marin Wade over using the name The Life of a Showgirl on her most recent and very successful album, seeking unspecified damages as well as an order from the court to bar Taylor Swift from using the name of her own album. Can you imagine how much more valuable all the physical vinyl releases of this album would be if suddenly she had to change the name? Well, you can't change the already printed albums. You're just making more money for her and for her fans to sell stuff on eBay. I don't know if it's the wisest decision. That's it for your music news today. I'm Steve Reeve. New research says that one of the hardest things to do on vacation is actually relax. Just do nothing. I guess that is the absolute hardest thing. For most people, 55% of those surveyed said that just the busy effect made it so that it was almost impossible to actually just check out, unplug, do little to nothing. And it's because I think there's a real sense of wanting to get the most of your money. It's not like it's cheap to go on a vacation. You have to save up, you have to plan, you have to try and find the best deals possible. And, there's some compromise that's involved. And so you just really want to, once you're there, make the most of it. Make the absolute most of it. But then again, you're trying to realize that the vacation is there so that you're not getting burnt out from all the other things that you're doing while you're close to home. So do take some time to relax. Read that book by the beach if you're able. But if you're not, well, just try not to do everything around you, I guess, is the next best piece of advice. You don't have to do absolutely everything on vacation. I mean, case in point, and we kind of planned it this way. When I was recently in New Zealand, it was 3 weeks, and we wanted to see as much of the country as we possibly could. But also, my significant other is from there, and we wanted to have a significant amount of the trip time for her to be able to spend with family. That's like the real point of the visit in the first place. So we jam-packed the first week with all kinds of travel and sightseeing and touring and everything. And we got burnt out from it for sure. But thankfully, that's why the back end was way more relaxing, less plans on the books, more chances to just sleep in. And I think that was the best way to do it. If you are going to try and do everything on vacation, stack it towards the start. And then let yourself have some relax time by the end of it, because you're going to need it before you get back home.
Wednesday.
Morning of April Fools, and I thought, why not get in on it as well? Got a couple of bits for you this morning. I mean, it's kind of not the point to point it out ahead of time, but I figure you're smart. Introducing country canceling headphones. They filter out absolutely 0% of the intrusive sounds of the world around you because all noise canceling capacity has been diverted directly to ensuring you don't hear a beat of the worst sound of all, country music. Go from this to this.
Whoa, that's better.
Go about your day with the confidence that you have 8 hours of battery to scrub any and all twanginess from the ambience of life. It even has a dial to let you fine-tune the filter between country and western settings. Pre-order the all-new country canceling headphones today and turn country into...
Wow!
And coming soon, kid canceling headphones with separate models for parents and for teachers. The music headlines are all about mystery today. We've got a chance at potential new Rolling Stones music, but certainly not a direct announcement. Simply posters that have been spotted around London in the UK just saying The Cockroaches with a QR code. Now, there have been people pointing out that in the early 80s, the Rolling Stones did play a secret show with the moniker Blue Sunday and The Cockroaches. Might just be an April Fool's hoax. It is the day to have the eyebrow raised in suspicion, but maybe there's a new show announcement or new music coming. We'll just have to wait and see. Could be new music coming from The Strokes as well. Again, no solid announcement. They've recently told fans that they'll try to share something soon and that they will be in touch. Their last album was The New Abnormal in early 2020 before the band did split apart for individual projects. However, it was never an end to the band, at least nothing that was communicated as the finality of The Strokes. So there's always the opportunity for them to reform together and bring something new to our ears. Speaking of brand new, it might not be a mystery, but it is now a piece of history. Led Zeppelin, an original demo, homemade demo for the song 10 Years Gone has been unearthed by the one and only Jimmy Page. He says, Robert Plant came up with some lyrics for my music that were extraordinary. You can hear that original home demo version online right now on their YouTube channel. Very cool stuff, but that is it for your music news today. I'm Steve Reeve.
You're listening to the Steve Reeve Podcast from 100.5 Cruz FM.
I hope that you're doing okay today. Keep vigilant, keep the guards up, because after all, it is April Fool's and you can trust nothing out there. Everybody's having a laugh with it, When we saw just how many betting sites were popping up over the last few years, we couldn't help but think, wow, we want your money too. Well, get ready, because coming soon is the all-new Cruz betting app, where you can guess from a series of possibilities that will happen on the show each day for a chance at big prizes. Just fill out the customized survey each morning, send in a wager of your choosing as long as it's at least $800, and you might just win big. Will a host make a mistake and swear? Will a song get repeated immediately after it ended? Will a caller complain about something not worth ruining their own day for? Will a technical error cut us off mid-sentence? You getting tired of the April Foolsiness of the day already? Just pranks left, right, and center? I know, I totally get it too. Anyways, breaking news, this just in. Due to unforeseen circumstances, the entire Artemis II launch crew has become old-timey marionettes. So the launch countdown is expected to now sound something like this.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Artemis II Are GO! By all rights, it does seem like it is going to be launching this afternoon, and everything's going to be going to plan. If not, they do have a window all the way until April 6th, when we won't be making dumb April Fool's jokes about it.
Thursday.
Pretty cool watch experience yesterday, seeing Artemis II doing its thing.
3, 2, 1, booster ignition, and liftoff. The crew of Artemis II now bound for the moon. Humanity's next great voyage begins.
Very cool, and I do believe that there are plans for in a couple of years' time to do another shuttle launch where there will actually be a touchdown on the moon's surface. We're going to have to wait and see what we get there when we get there. We got a big focus on this one where they are not actually touching down on the moon. They're doing a flyby. It's going to take a while as well. 10-day total return journey trip. And they actually don't hit the moon exactly right in the center of that because they are currently just kind of hanging out outside of the Earth's low orbit and doing some tests. I guess, there's a lot of different experiments that they want to do, a lot of different equipment, machinery, and it all needs to be, A-OK nominal, readouts from everything. So they take their time, almost a full day of just doing the checks and tests all over this shuttle before they accelerate and go and hang out near the moon for a little bit. Very cool moment. And the quote from the crew of the Artemis containing the Canadian Jeremy Hansen as well. We are going for our families. We are going for our teammates. We are going for all of humanity. First time that this has happened, anything like it, in 5 decades. Bruce Springsteen has just kicked off his Land of Hopes and Dreams tour in Minneapolis. And, of course, with a name for a tour like that and with a personality like Bruce Springsteen's, yes, there was some discussion of American politics there, but also some very cool collaborating. He had Tom Morello joining him on stage as they crushed some covers of Prince, Bob Dylan songs, and more. And he just simply says, let us join together and fight for the America that we love. Meanwhile, the Red Hot Chili Peppers have distanced themselves from the documentary that just hit Netflix the other day. It's called The Rise of the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Our Brother Hillel. And it's really a documentary about the late member of the band and original founding guitarist Hillel Slovak. It is something that has also utilized AI, generative AI, to replace some of his music, some of his contributions. And they have said that they are, involved in the sense that they gave interviews out of respect for their brother Hillel, but it is not a Red Hot Chili Peppers documentary. They have nothing to do with it creatively, and it is being sold as a Red Hot Chili Peppers documentary, which it is not. So I guess that clears things right up. Meanwhile, Courtney Love was just appearing on the Magnificent Others podcast with Billy Corgan of the Smashing Pumpkins and talked about all kinds of things from her history in music and in Hollywood, and has issued a request to Dave Grohl saying, hey, just say we're cool. The reason being, she thinks that will cause his fan base of what she labels straight white males to stop picking on her and reaching out to her on social media. He also adds that he won't do it because he's worried about losing the fan base. I gotta say, if somebody won't say we're cool publicly, you really have to question if you're even cool. That's it for music news today. I'm Steve Reeve. We got a ham for our Easter dinner without any plans for said Easter dinner, which really wasn't a problem. It's, locked ourselves into the idea, a delicious pre-obligation, but the price was right and the supply was there. The pickings were good, so we had to. And now, very excited because it's all figured out. Not going to be a lavish affair, but at least everything is, accounted for, except for the actual cooking. And even though we have I gotta let you know, we have a tiny kitchen in our place. There is one sink in the kitchen. I'm not talking about, side by side, one here, one there, one faucet. No, I mean, there is one sink in the kitchen. It's tiny. But despite this, I really actually enjoy putting a meal together with my significant other. The only hitch, the only one, is that she is a self-confessed mess maker while cooking, and I have to clean up everything as I go, or at least make an attempt at it. So, because of that, things get moved on each other. There's always something in the way on the counter, and you got to be able to communicate. That is a recipe for testing communication skills. That's almost as difficult as putting furniture together. I'm just saying, don't enter into it lightly.
Hey Alexa, play the Steve Reeve podcast.
Hershey apparently has heard the backlash and will return to the classic Reese's Peanut Butter Cup recipe. I genuinely wasn't aware this was even a thing, but I get it now after learning that the grandson of the inventor of Reese's called out the mega company that owns the brand for messing with both the milk chocolate and peanut butter ingredients. Just the two things that make up the foundations of a peanut butter cup. How do you mess with those? Oh, to make things cheaper. I get it. But I don't think it's just nostalgic aversion to change here. Because of that, listen, there are dozens and dozens of Reese's flavored products. You know, like the crossover stuff. Like we just got a bag of Reese's dipped animal crackers at our place, for instance. They're good. Yet, as great as almost all of those secondary products are, they're never quite as good as just having the original, you know, and eating a small pile of peanut butter cups, should you be able to and allergies don't prevent you. So why mess with near perfection? Also, Hershey owns Nestle, who own Kit Kat, and those things are suddenly selling way more since the news of the heist. So, I don't know, maybe all of this is just marketing, but, I'm pretty impervious to that kind of stuff. God, I want some chocolate. Crazy to see that, first signals coming from the Artemis II shuttle, first images. Earth looking pretty round, pretty small, pretty tiny, and it's only going to become more and more of a speck as they do get further away. The crew now spending their 24 hours, it's just circling, just hanging out with us. They don't want to leave too quickly, testing everything as they go before they do their lunar insertion burn. That sounds kind of weird, but that just means that they're going to be accelerating past the low or even high Earth orbit that they find themselves in to actually go and meet up with the moon, slingshot around them, take some photos of the dark side, do a ton of scientific experimentation, and then come on back to us after about 10 days' time, 9 days from now. And I don't know the exact moment that they're going to be doing that burn, that push towards meeting up with the moon, but very cool. I've got emotions about it, right? I'm in my feelings about it. I wonder if Jeff Bezos is in his feelings too, because there was that whole run of a bunch of shuttles being launched up. They're like, we went to space. And it's like, well, I mean, by that logic, so did the Red Bull, base jumper. That's pretty high up there. I will grant you, higher up than I'm ever going to be off of the planet's surface, but still, not quite space. These guys, though, the Artemis II crew, Jeremy Hansen of Canada, they're doing it.
Transmission over. Want more Steve? New podcast episodes happen every Friday, or just tune into the Steve Reeve Show. Weekday mornings starting at 5:30 a.m. on 100.5 Cruz FM.